Welcome to Chapter 2, Lesson 6. In this video, you are going to learn how to divide decimals. We're going to start off by dividing decimals by a whole number to start. And the key idea when doing that is, when dividing decimals by whole numbers, place the decimal point in the quotient above the decimal point in the dividend. Then divide as you would with whole numbers. Continue until there is no remainder. So let's look at example 1. It says, find 7 6/10 divided by 4. So the first number always goes inside of your division bar. We're going to place the decimal point right above it in the quotient, and then we're going to divide as normal. 4 goes into 7 one time. So we're going to subtract 4, bring down our 6. 4 goes into 36 9 times. We subtract 36 and we're left with 0. So our final answer would be 1 9/10. Okay, example B says 4 38/100 divided by 12. So once again, the first number goes inside your division bar. Put your decimal point straight above the quotient and divide as normal. 12 does not go into 4, so I'm going to write a 0. 12 goes into 43 3 times. We're going to subtract 36 because 12 times 3 is 36. Borrow and relabel here. 13 minus 6 is 7. 3 minus 3 is 0. Bring down our 8. Okay, 12 goes into 78 6 times. 6 times 12 is 72. So we'll subtract 72 and get 6. Then we'll have to add a 0, and we would carry down that 0. And then I'm going to write that over here just so we can see. 12 goes into 65 times. 12 times 5 is 60, so subtract that. We have no remainder, so we can stop, and our final answer is 365 thousandths. All right, let's do the example from the video together. We have 6 92 thousandths divided by 8. Bring your decimal straight up. 8 goes into 6 0 times. 8 goes into 69 8 times. 8 times 8 is 64. So we'll subtract here. We get 5. Bring down the 2. 8 goes into 52 6 times. Subtract 48. Borrow, relabel. 12 minus 4, 8 is 4. I'm going to rewrite that up here. We would carry down our 0. 8 goes into 45 times. We subtract 40 and we're left with 0, so we can stop there. So our answer for this problem would be 865 thousandths. Okay, that is dividing decimals by a whole number. We are now going to move on to dividing decimals by decimals. Okay, the key idea here, when dividing decimals by decimals, you multiply the divisor and the dividend by a power of 10 to make sure that the divisor is a whole number. So that means we're going to move the decimal point to the right until you have a whole number on the outside of your division sign. Then you move the decimal point in the number on the inside of your division sign the same number of places. Then we're going to place the decimal point in the quotient as you would with whole numbers and continue there until there is no remainder. That sounds really confusing, but let's go ahead and do a couple practice problems and see if it makes more sense. All right, example 2. There is a typo. It should be 18 2/10 divided by 1 4/10. So let's set up our problem. We have 18 2/10 divided by 1 4/10. So the first thing we need to do is multiply each number by 10, which results in us moving the decimal place 1 to the right. Okay, we now have a whole number on the outside because we have 14, and on the inside we have 182. We're going to place our decimal place in the quotient straight above. We have 182 divided by 14. 14 goes into 18 once. Bring down our 2. 14 goes into 42 3 times. 14 times 3 is 42. So we'll subtract that. We have no remainder, so our final answer would be 13. Now, a good way to check your answer until you guys get really good at dividing decimals is to then multiply. So if we do 13 times 1.4 and multiply this out, 0, we would get 182. Alrighty, let's go to example B. It says find 273 thousandths divided by 39 hundredths. Alright, so we're going to move our decimal place 2 on the outside, so 2 on the inside. So our new problem will be 39 and then 27.3. We're going to move our decimal point straight up. And 39 does not go into 2, and it does not go into 27. So we have to figure out how many times it goes into 273. This is where estimating comes into play. So if we estimate 273 to 280, and then 39 to 40, we know that 40 would go into 287 times. So let's try 39 times 7 and see how close that gets us. 7 times 9 is 63. 7 times 1 is 21. Plus 6 would be 27. So it looks like it goes in there 7 times. Subtract 273, lower left was 0. So our final answer would be 7/10. Okay, let's go on to the next page of your packet. We have 336 thousandths divided by 42 hundredths. So the first thing we're going to do is move our decimal twice to the right. So we have to move it twice here. That means we have 33.6 divided by 42. Okay, so let's put our decimal point straight above in our quotient. 42 does not go into 3 or 33, so we have to figure out how many times it goes into 336. If we round 336 to 340 and 42 to 40, 40 goes into 348 times. So let's try 42 times 8 and see where that gets us. 8 times 2 is 6, carry the 1. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 1 would be 33. So it looks like it goes in there 8 times exactly. We do not have a remainder, so we can stop there. So our answer would be 8/10. Remember, you can check using multiplication. Okay, example 3. We are going to insert zeros in the dividend and the quotient. So we have 2 and 45 hundredths divided by 7 thousandths. So the first thing we need to do is multiply each number by 1,000 so that 7 thousandths can become a whole number. That means we're going to move our decimal place 3 to the right and 3 to the right. So we have 1, 2, that means we have to add a 0 to make it 3. So we have 2,450 divided by 7. Our decimal point would be after our 0, so we can bring that straight up, and then we're going to divide just like we would with whole numbers. 7 goes into 24 3 times. 7 goes into 35 5 times. And it goes into 0 0 times. So we're left with no remainder. So our answer is 350. Okay, for practice on your own, I'd like you to do example from the video 1, and then on your own 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we will check those tomorrow in class.